The president of the Cincinnati Police Union says a community activist who is supposed to collaborate with police should not be paid by the city.
You know, just when I thought that news out of the city of Cincinnati couldn't get any worse, my brother ended up forwarding me over this local news segment. And what I discovered when I started watching this video is that you have a representative from the police union asking the city council to stop using taxpayer dollars in order to pay this black activist to disrupt regular, ordinary police work. Yes, this is in fact what is going on in that city. They are paying nearly $9,000 a month to a black activist who hates police officers, and this woman is quite literally caught on body camera multiple different times committing crimes and intervening in police matters that are basic, simple, and should not require an activist to heckle them and get in the middle of them in order for them to operate. Now, of course, the city of Cincinnati is in a lot of trouble in terms of national media coverage post the attack on white individuals that happened at a jazz festival recently, and more importantly, their response to this black mob violence. Now, we all remember the police chief saying that the real problem, the real crime, is that we on social media are actually talking about what's happening.
Another topic I want to cover real quick. Social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you. Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. That is one version of what occurred. At times, social media and mainstream media and their commentaries are a misrepresentation of the circumstances surrounding any given event. What that does, that causes us some difficulties in thoroughly investigating the activity.
And we also remember her saying that they're going to investigate all avenues of this, except, of course, for the black criminals. And they're actually going to go after the local bars that may have overserved people, because the real criminal in this vicious beatdown is actually alcohol.
Still an open investigation, and all potential charges are being investigated for everyone involved. All investigative tools and techniques are on the table, including, were some of these individuals overserved at some local establishments? It is clear to us that alcohol played a part, a significant part, in this incident.
Now, by the way, that police chief is actually being sued for anti-white discrimination. And of course, we have heard from the woman that was sucker punched for trying to break up the fight. And she has said that nobody in law enforcement, the prosecution's office, or the mayor's office has reached out to give her support. And in fact, a Cincinnati city council person essentially said that those white people earned the beating, but we've covered that all before. Today, we're going to talk about what they've been doing all along. Today, we're going to talk about this black activist who is caught on video multiple times committing a crime of interfering with the police investigation, only for us to discover that she is paid significantly by the taxpayer in order to do so. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Yeah, Ken, FOP President Ken Gober says Iris Rowley, who is paid by the city to act as a consultant to the city manager on the collaborative agreement, should not be paid a dime for her advice. Iris Rowley was hired by the city as an independent contractor in 2022 to serve as a consultant on matters related to the collaborative agreement.
So look, already, and I mean already, based on the fact that they hired an activist in the year 2022 in order to collaborate with law enforcement, you know that this is going to be a woke anti-white activist, anti-cop activist in this particular position. In addition to that, we've already seen city council members endorse violence against white people people in their city center. And of course, you have a culture in and around this area that seeks to obfuscate black crime and black violence and shift the blame as much as possible to white people. Again, we also talked about the police chief for Cincinnati being sued for racial discrimination against white people, as she is actively working to suppress white numbers in the police force. So you know that Iris Moley is definitely one of these individuals. You understand exactly where she's coming from, and in fact, she has a long history of posts on social media and video interviews where she says that she is basically explicitly anti-police officers. So obviously, it's absolutely insane that they would hire this person to advise the cops, and then for whatever reason, even though she's supposed to be in an administrative role, this woman has decided to deploy herself into the field and actively intervene with police stops as they're ongoing. It's absolutely absurd, and again, she is being paid an insane amount in order to do so.
According to invoices she has sent to the city, Iris Rowley LLC was paid about $8,500 a month for the services. One invoice dated for October 2023 shows $8,750 paid for her work on items like the collaborative agreement and public safety, meetings with the city on pedestrian safety, and attending community safety meetings on guns and violence.
Is this not ridiculous? Is this not absurd? This woman is a professional activist. Supposedly, she cares about each and every one of these issues, and typically these activist types end up working with some kind of nonprofit organization in order to push their absolutely horrible criminal justice agenda. But Cincinnati decided that they're not going to do the nonprofit thing, and they're just going to pay this woman with no expertise on anything at all whatsoever to show up to meetings and do basic activist duties, because this is the dirty little secret of our local governments across this country, which is left-wing activists are oftentimes directly paid by your tax dollars. Again, I've talked about this multiple different times, but while January 6 rioters, and by the way, the ones who committed crimes should have been prosecuted, were hunted down across the country, down to every last trespasser, what we ended up seeing was that Black Lives Matter rioters were paid about $80 million in settlements from different municipalities, and essentially this was paying people to commit more destructive riots in order to go to their foundations, in order to bulk up their numbers so that they could riot again. It was a direct transfer of your tax dollars to literal criminals in order for them to advocate for their anti-law enforcement agenda, which of course ended up leading to spikes in crimes in all these different various communities. But here in Cincinnati, they don't even go through the whole thing of having the cops break up a riot and then pay the rioters. Now they just pay the activists for the rioters, and they're like, well, she has to show up to meetings for things that she supposedly cares about, and she's a valuable consultant that has never contributed anything, is by all accounts an absolutely lazy worker in these meetings, and all she does is bitch and moan about police officers as they're performing their ordinary duties. Again, why would you pay a police abolitionist in order to consult with the police when inherently she is anti-police? It doesn't make any sense, but again, it's Cincinnati, so what do we expect?
FOP President Ken Kober calls Iris Rowley a taxpayer-funded agitator and that she goes out of her way to harass Cincinnati police officers. The FOP posted a few videos on its Facebook page. Kober says one shows an officer calmly doing her job in response to neighborhood complaints about a man drinking and intoxicated in public. The officer tells the man to pour out his beer or she will have to write him a ticket. Rowley steps in and tells the man that she has a list of problem officers.
She ain't on my list. Now, if she's as bad as you say she is to you, and you don't put her on my list, I can't help her get better and or get fired.
Kober says the officer did a fantastic job attempting to de-escalate the situation, despite what Iris Rowley was trying to accomplish.
Is that not one of the most insane things you've ever heard in your entire life? They are paying an activist to actively go out and intervene with police stops. And let us look at what was going down in this particular stop. You have people in a neighborhood. They spot a guy who's drinking in public. He's making a ruckus. They call the police. The police show up. And as the officer arrives arrives on scene, the man has an open container in front of him. So already the officer is fully within her rights in order to write this man a ticket. But because they're emphasizing community policing and excessive ticketing can anger a community, the officer does a classic community policing maneuver where she says, look, if you just pour out your drink, I won't write you a ticket. We'll consider this a warning and you can go about your day. But of course, the drunk man is absolutely belligerent. So obviously this should just lead to a ticket being written. But then we have our activist show up. We have our professional agitator burst onto the scene and she starts telling this guy that she's making a list of problematic officers that she's going to try to get fired, essentially feeding in to the drunken rage that this man is in during the course of the stop. Again, she doesn't even let this go on, let it come to its ultimate conclusion, even though you have an officer who's saying, hey, guy, I am trying to give you a break. Let me give you a break in this moment. Just pour out your drink. Again, a very standard community-oriented policing maneuver, and this woman is intervening. And worse, you are paying, if you're a taxpayer in the city of Cincinnati, for this woman to do that. You're paying her more to intervene with the police work than you're paying the police officer to actually do it. Is that not insane? Is that not crazy? And again, this isn't the only video.
In another video posted by the FOP, Rowley is seen confronting an officer who was asking a man why he missed his court date.
Ma'am, I'm in the middle of a recite. He missed court. He has a, yes. No, I actually need to write him a court date.
Rowley then tells the officer she is going to follow her.
I'm gonna follow you because I don't trust what you're saying.
You
I don't
need
like
to
how
take
you're
a
talking to the
step.
people.
I understand.
I don't have to do anything you say.
I need to conduct the business that I need to do.
This woman gets paid $8,700 a month in order to do this nonsense. This woman, by the way, not only should be fired by the city of Cincinnati, not only should she be forced to pay back every dime they paid her with the taxpayer money in order to do this nonsense, but she should be arrested. Here you have police officers in a very standard failure to appear situation where, by the way, they should arrest this guy. They should have issued a bench warrant and gone after him. But instead, in a community policing mindset, they decide to just write him a new appearance ticket. And that's too much for Iris. That's too much for this activist that, again, is being paid to do this. And these are not the only two incidents. They just happen to be egregious examples of her intervening in the middle of a law enforcement case. And yes, she should be arrested for this. And note the entitlement right there.
I understand.
I don't have to do anything you say.
Since she's been enabled by the taxpayer, she thinks she's above the law. She's like, I don't gotta do anything. I can intervene with any police stop at any point in time because I've been given God tier status because my woke, stupid ass activism has been deemed worthy of being paid for by the taxpayer, by the crappy city council over in the city of Cincinnati. Absurd, insane, ridiculous. Get this woman out of here. Get her out of town. Throw her in jail. Whatever you need to do.
Kober says the city should be ashamed of themselves for wasting tax dollars on such ignorance. Kober wants city residents to go online to CincinnatiPolice.com and sign a petition, in his words, to defund Iris Rowley.
Oh, I love that he called this a defunding Iris Rowley petition. And you know what? I'm going to link that in the description of this video because everyone should sign it. We should all get on board with this defund Iris Rowley effort because this woman is an absolute menace and in no way, shape, or form should she be funded by the city of Cincinnati, by the state of Ohio, or even through whatever ridiculous grants from the Biden administration had made their way down to these crappy police departments in order to implement these programs. This is ridiculous. This is absolute madness in every way. And again, where are the criminal charges? We need to go after these people and stop paying them.
Ken Kober filed an official complaint against Iris Rowley back in June, claiming that Rowley engaged in race discrimination when she used a racial slur in a post on Facebook. The city found that Rowley's comments were made as a private citizen and not in the workplace, while acting as a contractor rather for the city.
So just when you thought this story couldn't get any worse, just when you thought this story couldn't get any more absurd, it turns out that Iris Rowley also makes anti-white racist comments on her social media posts that are public. And of course, the city of Cincinnati investigated these racist comments, didn't find that they weren't racist. They just said, oh, well, she wasn't doing it in her official role as a consultant for the city, therefore no harm, no foul. And I just want to point out the obvious zebra challenge element to this. If we flip the races and say there was a white consultant for the city of Cincinnati and he posted racist comments about black people, would people say no big deal, nothing to worry about, because he did that on his personal time, and that honestly and genuinely shouldn't impact their role as a contractor? Keep giving that person $9,000 a month. Again, insane, absurd, ridiculous, but this is the city of Cincinnati. This is how they operate. They hire known anti-white racists, put them into positions of power, have them intervene with basic ordinary policing, and then they investigate themselves and find out that they did nothing wrong. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like. Subscribe for more content. Follow me on my social medias. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the city of Cincinnati paying an anti-white activist to harass police. Till next time.